Yeah, for me it's morning. I always have this morning phase on these episodes. I try to wake up early so I look better, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. um, yeah, today I would like to talk about a topic that's really taboo, I think, and definitely in the climbing community. Low motivation, not being motivated, and even like depressive feelings, not wanting to climb, not having any energy to do anything. Actually, that's what depression is on the long term, over not just 1 week, not 2 weeks, but more weeks and months in a row. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a taboo topic in the climbing world, because it's always in the climbing community. It's always about like, oh yeah, we're motivated and we're gonna go hard and let's go, and good energy and positive vibes, and it feels really hard then to like admit or show vulnerability of like, actually I don't feel it today, or I'm not motivated, I want to stay home. Actually, I want to stay in the van all day, like me today, reading a book, listening to music. And yeah, I think I'd like to share a story with you all, and with you, Cameron, of in 2018. I just had my first paid contracts as a pro climber, and it was the very first time, and I was like, I don't know, I felt this kind of pressure as well to come up with like creative ideas as a pro climber, and like really good expeditions, and I had to undertake all the time things, to be worth it as well. It probably had to do with my lack of self-esteem a little bit as well. And I kind of like talked myself into some kind of an expedition to Pakistan with a few people. Now when I look back, I almost invited myself or something. I think I was really desperate to have an expedition, have something done. And we searched for sponsorship, we searched for money, we got some sponsorship, and I convinced everyone, all the sponsors, that it was going to be amazing, and we had like production and all that stuff. But somehow I just didn't feel it. I really didn't feel motivated, and I could feel that I wasn't going for the right reasons. And it was also just a bit of I think my stress level had been really high for many weeks and even months in a row, and continuous stress in like, I need to perform, I need to come up with something, I need to show what I'm doing to the world. And I think this resulted into this low motivation, and I wasn't also enjoying climbing anymore. But it was so hard to admit. Also because the team, everyone was psyched and we wanted to go, and then 2 weeks before the trip, I decided I wasn't gonna go. So I stepped out, and I felt so much shame. I was really ashamed. I actually sent a letter to all the team members, and then I wrote a letter to all the sponsors as well, explaining that I didn't see it happening, but I felt so ashamed, and it was really hard. And just so I was in therapy then as well, quite intensive, like once a week and sometimes twice a week even. And I had a really down moment as well. I was really with negative thoughts about myself, and a lot on my own in my van, and I felt very lonely. So my therapist told me, like, look, write these emails to all your team members with everything you wanted to say, also to your sponsors. And then we check it together. We check the emails and we see what we can say, what we don't have to say. But just writing already is a good thing. And I wrote these emails, and in the end, we checked it together with my therapist, and then we sent them. And of course, my team members were really disappointed somehow, but at the same time, they understood and they respected my decision. And also the sponsors was amazing. They had like crazy results, like they had like crazy reactions. Sorry, so that was quite positive. But of course, I stepped out of this expedition, and I stayed in this really low, and I felt failed, and I felt even towards my good friends in Belgium. I came back to Belgium from like being in Chamonix for a while, and And yeah, it was like a shame to tell them, like I canceled the trip, and I remembered crying a lot, and it was really an uncomfortable situation for me, just to disappoint people, to fail. And actually that was a bit of the beginning of like, not the beginning, maybe the end of a really stressful, depressing period. And I took 2 months completely off of climbing. And so I stayed in Belgium in a co-housing place with some good friends. So that was really nice. But I let go completely of climbing, and that felt like such a relief. I'm like, I don't have to anymore. It's not necessary anymore, you know. Like I gave up already. I failed, so now I was just trying to accept it. And I started then doing something different. I actually started working in a garden for an older friend of mine. You know, he had like this house and a really big garden, and he wanted to make like this swimming pool, like a natural swimming pool. And for 2 months, more or less 2 months, not 5 days a week, but like quite a lot. I just worked in his garden. And I started working in the garden all day, and drinking a beer after working, and going back home and watching series while it was light until 10:30 at night. I was just already in the bed, and I was like, you know, and knowing that everyone was like climbing and doing hard stuff because it's summer and everyone is on vacation, and I was just there working in the garden, and I kind of enjoyed it. At the same time, sometimes I was like, I should be climbing. So there was a lot of guilt and shame. I think, I don't know. What do you think about this, Cameron?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we all go through times of below motivation, you know, where we're just like, can I be asked? And, you know, so often we put a negative stance on that. So often we want to shame ourselves for it, or we want to kind of say, that's not on, I have to be the energy bunny, and so much about climbing is it's such a beautiful, such an amazing sport, right? Or an amazing activity, or an amazing lifestyle, or an amazing way of life. And we often feel like we need to, under that privilege, we need to be stoked every time we go and climb. But if we're climbing regularly and we're doing something again and again and again, it isn't the same buzz as that time when we save it to do once in a month. And so often that, you know, coming back to the earlier episode of authenticity and vulnerability, if we don't have that authenticity and we can't be self-aware and kind of go, I am low motivated at the moment, then we don't have the power to change it. And, you know, we get demotivated for different reasons, right? Sometimes it can be because we are doing things that are intrinsically motivating to us. We almost have these two tanks inside us. This intrinsic motivation, things I love to do, things I want to do, and this extrinsic motivation tank. Things I'm doing because I feel like I have to, I should do them, I must do them. Things that we're compelled to do because externally we're getting pulled towards them. Now we know if a lot of what we're doing is in this extrinsic tank, this is going to lead us to low motivation, dissatisfied engagement, and low performance. So that's one main reason of why we often feel we have low motivation. A second one is, you know, perhaps more the case here, Siebe, and you can tell me a little bit later, is that when we face being challenged for too long, we can sometimes feel stretched like butter over toast. Like all the energy and resilience that sort of we have used in the past has been used up, and we've been climbing off fumes. And our motivation is low because all of our resources to rebuild that energy again and again and again has been used up. And so if we're exposed to too much stress and find ourselves in the red for too long, then we're going to be stressed for too long. And then we're going to have low motivation because we don't have that resilience to bounce back. You know, so what I remember this time well, and you know, you tell me if you feel otherwise, Siebe, but it felt like in this moment there was fatigue. You had been in this exposure to a stressful climbing situation again and again and again and again and again and again and again for so long that you felt a bit like butter stretched over toast, and you thinned out. And I don't think you were burnt out, but the joy had gone from climbing because there hadn't been a time to really reset, recalibrate, rejuvenate, and get that vitality back, which is crucial when we're approaching difficult challenges again and again and again.
Yes, indeed. I think, exactly what you say. Like I completely lost this motivation and this joy in my climbing because there was this overall stress of wanting to perform, having to perform. I mean, it has a lot to do with my the self-worth as well. Had this sponsorship, I got this money all of a sudden, and something shifted there, I think, in my climbing as well, from I'm just this climber and I have some sponsors, but suddenly they give you contracts and you need to professionalize a little bit, or I had at least a feeling that I had to do something different and come up with projects all the time. And I think this created this constant stress. And like you said before, it was really beautiful. I think like climbing is fun and it's a hobby and you're in nature and there's so many good people around and it's like an energetic community and it's all about motivation, and you're privileged. Of course we're privileged, and I don't want to complain about that. I don't want to point with the finger to the climbing community like, oh, you guys are too motivated or something. No, not at all. It's just an effect on you when you're always in this environment. It's like sometimes there is no motivation, or sometimes there's other things going on in life and it just doesn't work. And it gets so, I don't know, it gets like the motivation becomes, the bar is really high of always being motivated. And it's exactly like you said before, like if you climb twice a week, it's fine. But if you're every single day in that climbing community, it's normal that you're now and then not motivated, or that like the van life is not, it's not the beautiful pink life that everyone wants, or for me it's really funny. And actually one of the things that happened after 2018, after that summer, is that I realized that I needed something next to climbing. I needed really something, another environment, other people that could motivate me and learn me and teach me other things, not just climbing, and not just that community. And from then on, I told myself, look, every year you make sure that you dive deep into a different kind of topic or something, that you learn something, or that you do a course. If it's like playing music, it's playing music. If it's going to a lot of concerts, if it's doing some kind of learning a language. And so what I started doing after that was I did like this public speaking course. And it was a lot about theater, about connecting with your body as well, and a lot about like self-esteem, like standing in front of an audience and like looking the audience and like owning it. And so this like really, I started this in 2019 then, and it was really something that helped me, like just the fact that I was doing this. And then the year after, and then after COVID and everything, I got a lot into the coaching, into the business coaching as well, on leadership topics, on communication, with a company I now work for still. And this was also a lot of new input, a lot of books about leadership, a lot of like communication exercises, and this also helped me grow. So it was other stimuli that gave me suddenly more energy, and I appreciate the climbing and the high motivation in climbing a lot more.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, it sounds like, as every situation is, there's complexity. You know, it's never one thing that really is the causality of things. You know, you had that, it sounded like your intrinsic desire just to climb because you love it was tempered because now there was pressure to do good in climbing, share content, perceived expectations from sponsors, from people and so forth. So that motivation became extrinsic as well as intrinsic. Then when we do something, even something that we love every day, it kind of becomes, you know, work. Our mind starts to see it as this, not this new, different thing anymore. And so if we are doing something like that every single day, even if we're at work every day, we need to have the weekends where we do our hobbies. And if we're climbing every day, then we need to have the time off and do something completely different from climbing that allows us to return to climbing completely buoyant and with that same vitality that we started. So it sounded like, as well as you haven't been climbing for so long without a real proper rejuvenating break, there was also the desire to sort of have extra balance to your life and do the public speaking, do the gardening, do the things that was the yin and yang from climbing to kind of rebalance you and inspire that intrinsic motivation to climb again.
Yeah. That's, I like, I didn't think about that, but yeah, naming it as like intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. The extrinsic motivation became so big. It was all about having to do things to be worth it, having to be motivated to just because it has to be, you know, like or like I have the privilege. I need to be motivated. I need to always undertake and come up with the best ideas, and definitely on Instagram and social media is definitely like, and that's why we're doing this right now, you know, like also showing that there is another side on the pro climber's life, but just on life as well.
What do you do nowadays when your motivation's low?
I it's a little bit like in a short version or on the shorter term of what I did in 2018, and that's just walking away or daring to walk away sometimes, daring to say no. If it's like a day that you went out climbing, in the weekend that you want to go out climbing, and maybe canceling on your friends, and it's hard for your friends because they are motivated to go climb, and then just saying like, sorry, I can't, I just really don't feel it today, I don't want to be in front of my project again, I feel too stressed, I need to let it go, or go to another crack, go climbing some easier routes. For me what really helps is that actually, like walking away or completely trying to let go of that one objective. I can be quite rigid sometimes, and I'm like, no, I need to show discipline. I don't want to be the one who gives up and who walks away, and because that's weakness, you know. And actually, I realized that letting go is not a weakness. Letting go is really a strength. And then sometimes you can go back. You know, and that's the thing. Like you can quite often always go back, but sometimes I think like, oh yeah, I need to keep going. It's the same with my very first 9A that I climbed in it's Estado Critico in Siurana in 2021, and so it was also quite close to that heavy period and stuff. And I focused a lot on sport climbing, and it also had to do with like I want to see where I get, I want to see how strong I can get, and then I actually like I put so much time and effort, and I was so rigid. I stayed in Siurana, in that climbing area, all the time, in my van, in bad weather, trying to find the best conditions. It was going downwards in my project, and I should have actually, after 3-4 weeks, let go and go to another climbing area, but I stayed there for 2 months and a half, like super stubborn and not enjoying and being frustrated and screaming when I fall, and really stressed, also not sleeping well, and actually then I had to go back to Belgium for that one job that I do as well still, And I went 3 weeks to Belgium, not thinking about the route, not thinking about the climbing, almost no training. And then suddenly I went back. I remember it was like March, I was in Belgium, and then I went back on the 1st of April. And on my first day back in Siorana, I sent my project. And my first day, first try, like just because I was so relaxed, it wasn't the most important thing in the world anymore. It was just a climb. So for me, this is the trick, to start and to try and walk away.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. You know, often one of the most difficult things is becoming aware that we're lacking motivation, right? And the obvious one is, I can't be asked to do it. And then there's I'm reacting badly, I'm getting judgmental, I'm kind of pissing off the people I'm with. And, you know, once we start to realize that actually my motivation isn't as strong, I'm not as stoked, and my vitality, my exuberance for doing what we're doing is lower, it's really important to look after that internal flame. You know, we'd imagine our motivation as like a kindling fire, you know, and if our fire goes down, then our whole performance and engagement's going to go down. But if we can fan the flames and protect our motivation as we would a young baby, it's protect our motivation as a really important thing, then standing up and making those decisions you did see at the time to say, no, I don't want to climb, I'm not going. Making those decisions when socially it might feel there might be guilt around it. But if we can protect our motivation, that's going to seed more good climbing, richer experiences, better performances, sustained performance over time. So if I could give anyone watching or listening one nugget in terms of how to manage our motivation is being okay with having a low motivation. It's very normal. And if we can sit with it, understand that we need a bit more balance, we need to just level off the stress for a little bit to come back stronger, and then nurture our motivation, you know, do things proactively to fan the flames and become inspired again.
I think that's a nice conclusion as well, Cameron. Like, I also recognize it in myself and in other pro climbers as well. Like, we're not always super motivated, but we have this idea of like, everyone is always motivated. I need to also reach that bar, you know? So I hope that with this episode, this message of sharing, just like that, not everyone is always motivated, that it's for the people listening and the people watching a little easier to also accept from themselves, like, okay, it's okay, actually everyone has this like low motivation, and it's good to do other stuff and let go and accept and then come back. And it's so easily said that while I'm saying it, I'm like, shit, I'm so bad at it. Like, I really suck in letting go, and I keep holding on to it and wanting to feel this motivation or wanting to be motivated or showing my motivation. But I think it's so honest and so authentic if you can just say, no, I don't feel it. Man, but I'll come back when I feel it. And I fucking climb that route, you know? And I think that's definitely, I hope
it makes those routes where you come back and do it even more sweeter, right? It kind of, it adds to that exuberance of, I really looked after myself. And like you just said, it's not something that we do once. You know, this is something that we need to look after continuously.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's necessary to not fall into the trap of like spiraling down, like, oh my God, and I'm not motivated, I need to be motivated, and what can I do to be motivated? I think it's really, again, always that same lesson of letting go. And for me, it's doing something else. I just bought myself congas.
Nice.
You know the conga,
yeah.
the Cuban African instrument. I just bought myself congas, and I don't know, maybe it's just thrown away money, but I really like percussion and I really want to learn this instrument. So when I'm low motivated for climbing, I'll start playing conga.
Yeah.
So
It's never a bad investment when,
okay, on this
when it
note,
puts a smile on your face that big.
exactly. That's awesome. That's good feedback, Cameron. Thanks. All right.
Right.
Thank you very much. Let's wrap up. Thank you. Bye, Cameron. Thanks, everyone.